Today, I want to create the most valuable dropshipping video on YouTube of all time by giving away the exact strategy that I use to scale branded dropshipping businesses to their first 1K day as quickly as possible. And I did this on a story that I documented, which you can go watch this video here. And this is also the exact strategy that I'm teaching my students inside of God Tier Ecom. In fact, they're going to hate me for this because I'm literally going to give everything away for free in this video. No holding back, no free training, free resources. This is literally in the documents that I teach. The people are paying me money for. I'm going to give it to you for free and break it down. And I'm going to do all of this in less than 10 minutes. So let's go. All right, so timer's there. Let's begin. Now, in terms of the strategy, here is the setup that we use. So the first 72 hours, this is the campaign setup that you're going to run. You're going to run a CBO campaign, campaign budget optimization campaign, for $150 a day. You're going to create 5 ad sets, all using broad targeting, 18 to 65 plus, all genders, automatic placements. You leave everything the same. Oh, I should mention here that we are targeting 1 country per campaign. You can group them if you want. It doesn't really matter. I prefer to do 1 country. We're creating 5 identical ad sets. And in each of these ad sets, we're going to be testing 5 unique and distinct mass desires. So I'm going to use the example of a cat water fountain in this video. So if I was to set up a desire testing campaign, I would do 5 ad sets, all unique desires. So desire test ad set number 1 would look something like, I want to make my cat with CKD live as long as possible. Desire test number 2 would be, I want to prevent UTIs and blockages. Desire test 3 would be, I want to avoid expensive medical bills. So in the beginning, all we're focused on doing is taking our product and figuring out, okay, what do people actually want to get by using the product? Because again, people don't buy the product itself, they buy what they think the product will give them. So in order to build an effective brand, really, we need to figure out why the hell are people buying this product in the first place? What are they trying to achieve when they use this product? And then that becomes the foundation that we build everything else on. So you're probably wondering, how do I get these desires? There's a couple ways you can do it. The first way is to do manual research, to go onto Reddit, go onto public discussion forums, go to the people in your audience who have the problem that your product solves, and just look in the research, look in the comments, see how people are talking about the product. What problems constantly come up, what keywords show up, what pain points do they have, what have they tried in the past to solve this problem. And you want to boil it down to looking for things where you can look at and say, okay, this is an outcome or a transformation that somebody wants to get by using the product. So for example, in the case of a cat water fountain, I would probably look up things like, how do I keep my cat more hydrated? Or how do I get my cat to drink more water? Alternatively, method number 2 is to use the AI prompts in the description of this video that will essentially grab all of the mass desires for you based on the research. So as you can see, I have a prompt here that basically scans almost 100 plus different websites and will extract mass desires by definition of breakthrough advertising. And so as you can see here, I have 5 primary surface desires, and then I usually like to find 4 to 5 secondary untapped desires. So these are desires that are probably not as immediately obvious, but still could be relevant to my product. So for example, if you hear of a cat water fountain, you're probably not thinking of, oh, this could solve the problem of chin acne. But if you actually do the research, you can actually see that chin acne is something that can be solved by a cat water fountain, or potentially like reducing my cat's vomiting. You know, I wouldn't say from drinking too fast, maybe that's a stretch, but maybe it has something to do with them eating excess dry food and not being hydrated. Who cares? Those are the secondary desires. Now, in the beginning, you're going to run this desire testing campaign, and you're going to let this run for the first 72 hours, but there are some early kill rules that I apply to save my students money, because I'm not oblivious to the fact that a lot of people have limited budgets. So your early kill rule is, if in the first $50 of spend, the CPC is greater than $2 and you have no purchases, pause the entire campaign. I've run this strategy, I think hundreds of times at this point. I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students run this. Anytime the cost per click is above $2 and your first $50 of spend has no purchases, just pause the entire campaign, because that indicates that your best ad set in the ad account is only capable of greater than a $2 cost per click, and the math will just not math for you. If you spend $100, let's say your cost per click is $3. If you spend $100, you're only going to get 30 people to the website. If your conversion rate is 3%, which is elite, that means you only convert 3 out of every 100 people. So if your cost per click is $3, you're getting 30 people to the website for every $100 that you spend, which means you have to spend $300 to get 100 people to the website to convert 3 of those people. And that's if you're elite. That's if everything is on point. Now, if those 3 conversions are not worth more than that $300, if you're not profitable on that, you will lose money. And that is, unless you're selling like $100 to $300 products, it's just not going to back out for you. So you pause the entire thing and you test new desires, images, and copy. And that's basically Facebook saying, hey, you need to start fresh. More often than not, it's the images and the copy that you're using that suck. It's not as frequently the case that you're targeting the wrong desires, although it can be helpful to explore these secondary untapped desires in the case that you get a low cost per click and your ad metrics are on point, but you're not creating any buying intent. So that's your protocol. Next, if you manage to escape out of desire testing, what should happen is that you get a desire test ad set that takes the majority of spend and also brings in consistent conversions. It doesn't even need to be profitable. The goal in desire testing is if you can get an ad set breaking even, ideally campaign wide if you're breaking even. That is amazing within the first 72 hours, because if you do get to that point, now you can start testing angles. So mass desire is what somebody wants to get by using the product. The angle is the argument or story that makes them want to take action on that desire. So in other words, what can we say to someone to actually make them conscious of their desire and take action on their desire? Because if you think about people who want to lose weight or the weight loss industry, how many millions of people want to lose weight? Millions of people want to lose weight, but millions of people, the overwhelming majority of those people are walking around fat and out of shape. Why is that? The reason why is because just because somebody wants something does not mean they will take action to get it. Like starting a business. Just because somebody wants to make 10K a month doesn't mean they will actually do the actions necessary to make 10K a month. And that is where the angle comes in. This is, by definition, or how I define it, the story that we use or the argument that we use to compel someone to take action on this desire now. So in the case of this cat water fountain, if we were building off of, I want to make my cat with CKD live as long as possible, two possible angles I would test for that would be wet food alone won't mitigate CKD. Prescription dry food makes the problem worse. These are two arguments or stories that I could tell that would compel someone to take action on this mass desire. Now, the way that we set this up is in the exact same CBO. You notice here I have two ad sets that are gray. Usually, these ad sets are not going to spend. You're going to have one ad set that takes the majority of spend and is bringing in the consistent conversions. Now, these are not to say that you should pause these two ad sets. I'm just saying that typically these other ad sets that you have in the account are going to spend a little bit less. If they're severely underperforming, you can go ahead and pause them at this stage as well. So in the same campaign, we're going to test 5 angles in total. Now, if you are new to advertising, I would recommend that you just start with implementing 1 or 2 angles every couple of days, because it's more important in this stage that your quality is high, less so your quantity. I would rather somebody be testing 1 high quality angle every 3 days than trying to dump 3 to 5 bullshit angles that they pulled out of their ass or pulled out of ChatGPT in 5 minutes. Just for the sake of like, oh, I just need to test new creatives. Like this Facebook ads is a quality game. I don't care what anyone else has told you. If you are just starting out and you're trying to build a dropshipping brand from scratch, it's all about quality, not quantity. And especially if you're running long form copy. So in this same campaign, we're testing angles, and we're going to keep testing angles over the next 7 to 14 days. Usually you can get this done in about 1 to 2 weeks. It's not uncommon though for the angle testing phase to extend out to 3 to 4 weeks. Not uncommon, and you can make it work in those longer timeframes. So you're testing angles, and same thing. We're looking out for, in these next 7 to 14 days, what is the angle that's going to take the majority of spend and be profitable? That is a key step for the angle testing phase, is that we want an angle ad set. The goal of this phase in these next 1 to 2 weeks after you're out of desire testing is to identify one ad set with one angle that is profitable and taking the majority of spend. So at this point, we're not shooting for break even. We're trying to get something profitable at this point, because once we get an angle profitable, that will give us validation of a few things. Number 1, the desire. Number 2, the actual angle, so the story or argument. And then number 3, the offer and product. So getting to profitability is absolutely the goal in angle testing, and do not settle for anything less. If you cannot get an angle profitable to your product page, do not move on to the next phase. You should stay in this phase until you create the right story and argument for your product. How do you get these? Again, Reddit, YouTube videos, social media comments, research. Look for what your customers are saying on these things and turn them into angles. So for example, I saw a lot of people saying on Reddit, hey, you don't need water bowls, just give your cat wet food. And then I saw a bunch of other people saying, hey, no, wet food alone won't mitigate CKD. And I thought that was a compelling argument, because if 99% of people believe wet food alone won't mitigate CKD, or wet food alone will mitigate CKD, and I can educate them that, hey, just doing that alone won't do anything, that's a compelling argument to take action. And all I did was get that from the research. I don't typically like to do any angle research with AI because I like to be the one to find those stories and dig into the research. It's a very qualitative process. Okay, so let's say over the next 7 to 14 days, you get an angle test that is actually performing well. What do? Very, very simple. You're going to take your winning angle and you're going to build this onto a congruent landing page. There's a few different ways that you can take this. You can either go into a listicle or an advertorial. The main point is that you have now found and validated profitable messaging inside of your ad account. You now know, fuck the timer, you now know what people want by using your product, and you now know the story or argument that will make them take action now. So the next most powerful, highest impact thing you can do right now to get to 1K a day is to build a congruent landing page that takes the desire and angle and puts them in landing page form. So if I was to do this for this particular angle, I would take this landing page. Research reveals how to increase your cat's lifespan. Hint, it's not wet food, right? Because again, we're leveraging the desire. How can I let my cat live as long as possible? We're leveraging the angle, which is that wet food alone will mitigate CKD. And then we bring this onto a landing page. So now from ad to landing page, we have a fully congruent customer journey. And all that means is the messaging is consistent from the first interaction that our customer has with us to the last interaction that our customer has with us. So the argument and the desire stay congruent all throughout. So someone's exposed to the exact same argument and desire from step 1 to step 3. And I would not move away from my landing page testing until I am at least 1K a day. And then from there, you can scale it and see how far you can take this individual combination. But all getting to 10K a day is just finding new combinations of desires plus angles and then building congruent landing pages for them. That's it. That's how you get to 10K a day. You basically just stack as many of these in your favor, in your campaigns, as much as possible. And if you have one congruent messaging funnel, we'll call it, going to 10K a day or 1K a day, then just stack other ones. Maybe this one only goes to 2K a day. Then you can push this one to 2K a day. Then you push this one to 2K a day. And you combine them and they're doing 6K a day, right? And it's obviously not as easy as what I'm saying. That's just in theory what you do, but this is the methodology. Once you find a desired angle, you build out the landing page and then you scale the landing page accordingly. So that is the strategy, guys. That is literally all you need for your first 1K a day. This is the strategy that people literally pay me money to learn inside of God's Recom, and I gave it away. I broke the time limit. I meant to do this in less than 10 minutes, but of course, you guys know me by now. I fucking ramble because I'm excited about this shit. So guys, that is the strategy. That is all you need to hit your first 1K a day. That is how I scale stores to 1K a day with branded dropshipping. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content as always. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All of the copy prompts that I use for my stores are linked in the description of this video. You don't have to give me your email, no nothing. They're all there for you. Follow this shit because it works. If you are doubtful, then I don't even know how many win posts at this point. I don't even know. Anyways, that's it for the video. Peace.